You got to get the ball out of your hands. Huh? You're going to get killed. Huh? They'd be licking their chops. You'd be like liverwurst on rye. Huh? Little pepperoni. They say, ooh, we got a little pepperoni back here. We can have for lunch. That's right. Got to get it out of your hands. Don't be waiting forever. Throw it out. Get it out of the, throw it. I don't mean just sling, get it out of bounds. Do anything with it. You got to have a mental clock in your head, Tony. Got to have it in your head. And when you know it ain't there, because the throwaway's a lot better than a minus play. Probably, and as frail as you are, it'd be a minus play with a fumble.
Tries the right side, looking for help. He's in trouble. And stills on his feet and fires it. What a catch! It's Witten with the grab as Rome. 8 seconds to go. What is this? And now Romo dancing around and heaves it. Man is open. Is he going to go out of bounds? Why in the world did he stay in the field? 2nd and 9. And long ball time. And the Cowboys caught it, but he gets away. It is going to go for a touchdown for Terrence Williams.
Yo, what up? Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since I made a video, and I wanted to do one addressing the NFL draft that just passed. Also, I know I made one about Dez Bryant leaving. Still hasn't been signed anywhere. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, and we also want to talk about Jason Witten retiring. That's going to have a big impact on how we go forward this year. So, kind of some big things going on. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the NFL draft that happened 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And if you watched my previous videos, I talked about where I thought the Dallas Cowboys should go in the first round. There was a lot of speculation about them potentially getting Calvin Ridley, who was available at the time, and a couple other receivers in the first round, especially once Dez Bryant was released. A lot of people felt like they needed to fill that void at wide receiver. However, our first pick, we went with Leighton Vander Esch, and like I said in my previous video, I thought that if Roquan Smith was available, and I think he was taken at 12 by the Bears, and then we had 19th pick, and we took Leighton Vander Esch out of Boise State, which I think, in my opinion, that was a great pickup. I think we need that depth, especially at the linebacker position, because, like I said, Sean Lee, he isn't going to be around forever. He's fragile, unfortunately, and we need that depth. We need somebody in there that can play the position, and I think Leighton Vander Esch, even though he doesn't have an extensive college career, I think he's going to be great. I think he's a big guy, 6'5", 250 pounds. He's a big guy. So I thought that was a good pick. Glad we didn't go receiver, honestly. I thought if we were going to – I thought Calvin Ridley. I thought the Packers were going to take Calvin Ridley. But fortunately, they didn't take him. And he was well, I guess it doesn't matter either way. I really don't want them to have him because I don't like Aaron Rodgers, but that's another story. But he was available, and we didn't take him. So kudos to Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones for not taking that and getting some much-needed depth at the linebacker position. Second round, we took Connor Williams out of Texas, offensive lineman. Once again, in that video, I also said that we needed to address the lack of depth at the offensive line position. I think Dak Prescott had a lot more pressure on him last year because our offensive line was banged up a couple of games, especially with Tyron Smith. And I think Connor Williams is going to help us tremendously. They're questioning now. He can play pretty much anywhere. I think he's comfortable playing guard, and I know that Lyle Collins played tackle last year at the right tackle position after Doug Free left. So I'm not sure how that's going to work itself out, but I think that was a great addition. I think he's going to be good for years to come, and I think when you could add that depth to your offensive line, it's just, I mean, you're going to give your quarterback, a couple more seconds to throw the ball, and I think that's what we need, especially with somebody young like Dak back there. So love that pick there. I think Lyle Collins. I'm a big Lyle Collins fan also. I think he's a monster, and I think once he learns the techniques and gets those down pat, I think he's going to be good to go. Round 3, it finally happened. We went with Michael Gallup out of Colorado State, the wide receiver. I don't hate the pick. I wasn't ecstatic about the pick. I thought we could have went back and got another linebacker. But, I mean, it happened. So I did a little research on him. He looks like a fine pick. He kind of he's not huge. I think he's 6'1", 205, 210 pounds. So we'll see. He's not a burner. He's not somebody who's gonna I think he ran like a 4.5 40 or something like that. So kind of reminded me of a Des Bryant, kind of aggressive to the ball. We'll see what he does. And my question was when we picked him up was where does he play, right? You have we picked up Hearns, right? Free agency. We got Thompson from Buffalo. Then we still have Terrence Williams. We still have Cole Beasley. At the time, we still had Ryan Switzer. So I'm like, how do you? And we still had Noah Brown from Ohio State, who was a rookie last year. So I'm thinking, how do you fit this guy into your offense? When we picked him, I was thinking maybe there's going to be some changes offensively, and my first inclination was to think that Terrence Williams and or Cole Beasley would be gone either on draft day or before the season starts. I think there's going to be some competition there, and I think somebody's not going to be there anymore. And sure enough, shortly after that happened, we got rid of Ryan Switzer, which I didn't understand, just because we drafted him the year before out of North Carolina, and he was supposed to be our Cole Beasley, and I'm pretty sure this is Cole Beasley's. He's going into his final year of his contract, whereas you could have had Ryan Switzer for another 2 or 3 years and let Cole Beasley go, because I think for the most part they're the same receiver. They're the same type of receiver. I think Ryan Switzer gives us a little more explosiveness, especially when you're talking kick and punt returns. So I didn't quite understand that, and we ended up trading him to Oakland for Jihad Ward, which he is a defensive lineman, defensive end, if I'm not mistaken. And I honestly, once we need that depth also. I said that in my previous video. We need the depth at the D line. We got to have fresh bodies in there for rotation purposes. So I didn't hate the pick. I just didn't understand it. It confused me. And right around the same time that happened, we got Tavon Austin via a trade. And that initially I was kind of pissed. I was like, okay, so we get rid of Switzer, who's younger. I'm not going to say he's faster, but he's younger. He can do a lot of things. We already know what Tavon Austin brings, right? He's been in the league, 4, 5, 6 years? He's been in a while. So, and he never materialized. I believe he was a first-round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and check. But we knew what we was getting with him. And if he was hurt most of last year with a wrist injury. So I was like, what are we doing? Where are you going to put him at? You just got rid of Ryan Switzer, which I thought we needed to thin out the wide receiver position. But then you pick up Tavon Austin. Then shortly after that, I seen that offensively they want to use him like they used Lance Dunbar, which made sense to me. Then I was like, okay, that makes sense. The year that we had, 2014, when we had Lance Dunbar and Romo, and we were doing those, and Romo was dropping back and he was dumping the ball off to Lance Dunbar. It was effective. I always remember the Atlanta game, and Dunbar was killing him until he got hurt. He was killing him underneath. Those linebackers couldn't stick with Dunbar, and I think I can see the same thing happening with Tavon Austin, and I think that would be really, really big for Dak, especially guys aren't open, you can just dump the ball off. The problem lies with personnel and how you line up. So kind of like every time Dunbar was in, we knew it was more than likely going to be. I mean, he can't block for Zeke, so I'm just curious to how you're going to work him into this offense. He can't line up behind. I don't know. It's going to be weird. It's almost going to be like you're giving the play away if he's in the game, because every time he's in the game, he's getting the ball, kind of like a Lance Dunbar. I think it was probably just a matter of time before they picked up on that. Same thing with Cole Beasley. I mean, it's 2015. 2014, when we were using Cole Beasley a lot, they would put him in the slot, and he pretty much ran 2 routes, and that was it. And it was just a matter of time before defenses caught on to what we were doing. So I don't want to get too predictable. Every time Tavon Austin's in, it's either going to be a reverse, a double reverse, or something over the middle with a linebacker. We just need to be keep that defense on their toes. So yeah, initially I was upset, and then once I understood they want to use him like Lance Dunbar, that's fine. I didn't really have an issue with that, as long as he's not taking plays away from one of the other receivers who can be more productive down the field. So after that, in round 4, we went and got Dorrance Armstrong, and I think this was definitely for us a steal. Get him in the 4th round as a situational down pass rusher. I think that's great. I don't think you can have enough quality pass rushers, and that will be, especially if we can get Randy Gregory back. I think that's going to be huge for our defense, to be able to spell those guys and have DeMarcus Lawrence not in there on every down. It's going to be great. I think that was a great pickup, and I'm curious to see how he plays. I think he's going to do well there, learning from those guys and those offensive linemen. Also in the 4th round, we went and got a tight end. This was obviously before we knew Jason Witten was going to retire, but we got Dalton Schultz, which I don't know, kind of had mixed feelings. I know we have Rico Gathers. I don't know how healthy Rico Gathers is, and that, if I'm not mistaken, James Hanna retired also, like medically retired. So kind of curious to see what we do there. And then that leads me into Jason Witten retiring, right? So Jason Witten retires, and then we kind of have a void at the tight end position. So then there was talk about moving Noah Brown. So if you're not familiar with Noah Brown, he was a wide receiver at Ohio State 2 years ago. He's a rookie last year. Seen very limited action this past season. And they were talking about possibly moving him to the tight end position. Now, he's about 6'2", about 220, so he's a bigger receiver. He runs, I'm pretty sure he ran a 4.5 40, so he's got some speed if he were to play at that tight end position. So it could definitely work out. I don't know how. I know he was good blocking as a wide receiver, but when you're blocking as a tight end, I mean, that's a whole nother animal. So I'm not sure how effective he'll be at blocking, and whether or not they're going to want him to put on some weight. And that leads me into Jason retiring. First of all, tip my hat to you, good sir. Thank you for the memories. 15 years or 100 years of playing tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. That was great. But I was relieved. I was happy that he retired. I think it's long overdue. I think that obviously his best days were behind him, but he could no longer. He was a good, I guess, safety cushion for Romo for many years, and good for Dak Prescott, but he couldn't stretch the field. I think over the last 5 to 7 years, the tight end position has changed. It's kind of morphed into something more along the lines of bigger receivers, right? They're bigger, faster, stronger, and they can drive the ball down the field, so to speak. So, and he couldn't do that anymore. He was one of the slowest tight ends I've seen in a long time, and I think it was, like I said, long overdue. I'm glad he retired. I think it's time for us to move on, and I'm just glad he retired and he wasn't cut or released, or injured or anything like that. So. But like I said, thanks for the memories. One of probably the greatest Dallas Cowboy tight end ever play. So looking forward to much needed change there. What they do there, still up in the air. If I was Noah Brown and I knew that the wide receiver core was as packed as it is now, I'm sure he's not going to say no. He's going to get a chance to get on the field, so he'll be good there, I think, and give him more opportunities to get on the field. So with that, after the draft, after Jason Witten, what are we looking for going forward? And I think we did some really good things on defense. And I think a strong, aggressive defense is going to be the key to keeping Dak Prescott on his feet, making good decisions, and not forcing balls. So with that, with getting Van Der Esch, I think that was great. So they also moved Byron Jones back to cornerback, which I'm not completely upset with, but I think we had some young, good corners in Cheeto and Jordan Lewis, and also Anthony Brown. So I think we had 3 really good corners there. And then you're gonna put Byron Jones there, who I'm guessing is gonna start right away. I didn't mind him at safety. I thought he was a decent safety. He played those I guess, those athletic tight ends very well. I just don't know how you're going to fit this cornerback rotation. How's that going to work? Kind of curious to see what that looks like. I don't want to shortchange any of the young guys because they still have they're feisty and they want to play and they want to get on the field. So we'll see what happens with that. And that leaves us with no Earl Thomas trade. So we still have Jeff Heath, Kayvon Frazier, and also Xavier Woods for safety, which I'm happy about. I think I'm glad we didn't get Earl Thomas. I hope we don't get Earl Thomas. Not that I don't like E.T. I do like E.T., but he's older. He doesn't stay healthy. And we have some young, feisty, hungry corners and safeties back there. So I hope we can let those guys play. And I think the key to the defense this year is going to be to keep Sean Lee healthy. If we can keep him healthy all year, I think I'm expecting big things from our defense. And when you have big things from your defense, you're going to have a much better offense, right? So we can get Zeke the ball. He can run the ball better. Time of possession, get back to where we were in 2014 with time of possession and keeping opposing defenses on the field forever. Wear them down, and that way you can take all that stress and that pressure off of Dak Prescott, and he doesn't have to make the big throw game after game after game. Especially with our wide receivers, I don't know how explosive they're going to be. Scott Linehan's going to have to get creative with his play calling, and I think we could do well. I also put in there one of my previous videos that the New York Giants would potentially take. I said if they went and they got Saquon Barkley at number 2, and then picked up Dez Bryant, which hasn't happened yet. I'm not sure where Dez is going. I heard some talk about the Saints, but I don't know yet. But if they were able to pick him up, that they would, in my opinion, be one of the better teams in the NFC East, and they would be very difficult to beat offensively. They still need to short some of that defense, but if they can use Saquon like we use Zeke his first year, I think they're going to be pretty tough, and I think a lot of people are overlooking them. And I haven't heard much talk about the Washington Redskins either, so we'll see what happens. I think over the next month or so we'll be able to get an idea of what we can expect from each team. But so far, not a bad draft. I would probably give it, if I had to grade it, I would give it around a B minus. I think there were some things we could have done better. But yeah, I mean that's where I'm at with that. Like I said, it's been a couple weeks since I made a video. Let me know what you guys think about the draft, about Jason Witten retiring, and don't get pissed off because I said it was long overdue. I love Jason Witten, but it's time for him to go. We need an aggressive, athletic tight end, somebody that can stretch the field, and somebody that can help Dak out a little more. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will continue to make these. We got I think mini camps coming up soon, and I'll be keeping an eye on what happens with Dez Bryant because I'm still a Dez Bryant fan. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.